guy on the screen recently gained popularity across social media for having a controversial take. It's not a new take because I've heard it before, but it certainly caused him to go viral as of late. By now, everyone's heard it, but I want to focus in on one small part of it. If you're new here, I go by TSF. That sounds familiar. If you've ninja watched a few of my videos, why not check to see that you're subscribed to the channel? At any rate, let's get some understanding.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you. It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about, and honestly, we're perpetuated. And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects,
Right.
you know, to look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are. And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Amen. Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman and get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women. The spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things. The knowing, the seeing, you know what I'm saying? Also too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation. How often are women just having a good time and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. You can call it pandering, but if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to black women do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. Use your cabeza.
If you want to go viral, here's what you do. You say something controversial, and then you look into the camera like this while you're doing it. And oh yeah, pandering to women, especially black women, it's going to add a little more sauce to it. And make no mistake about it, this is definitely pandering of the highest order. Just check the definition. To pander means to say, do, or provide what someone, such as an audience, wants or demands, even though it's not good, proper, or reasonable. I'll get to why what he said is not good, proper, or reasonable in just a second. But before I do that, I want to paint a clear picture of what pandering looks like. Think about politicians who, by the way, are some of the biggest panderers. They say whatever needs to be said in order to create a facade of connection with their audience. So they'll give this boilerplate spiel filled with truisms that they know people want to hear. For lack of a better phrase, it's ear candy. But one thing about it is they themselves know they're being disingenuous. However, as long as they're building that rapport, the end justifies the means, or so it seems. Preachers are also notorious panderers. They know how to tailor their sermons to play on the emotions of their congregants, especially the women. Ultimately, it's a performance that builds and builds until finally they're tugging at the heartstrings. It's emotional manipulation at its best. And once they got you on the hook, that's usually when they call for you to come up and give your offering. So with this guy, I can tell that he's obviously intelligent, and some of what he said was obviously true, like when he spoke of some men not knowing how to take rejection, to the point where they might call the woman out of her name or potentially try to put her in an unsafe situation. But I challenge his way of thinking when he says that this is true of most of the men that the majority of women deal with. Where's he getting that from? There's no study or data from any reputable source whereby he could state that as a fact and not just his own opinion. What are we doing here? Are we talking facts or are we talking fiction? Do your research and go look up the statistics on what percentage of men who are of dating age that have never in life approached a woman for a date. It's considerable, and those men shouldn't even be in this conversation. Then you have a percentage of men that pretty much get what they want from women. There are others who shoot their shot and they take what they can get. Then there's still others who approach women but get nowhere. And even still, they want relationships with women, so they keep shooting. And lastly, you have those who can't take rejection. Show me conclusive proof that this is the majority of the men that women deal with. I will stand corrected and even make a video admitting as much. I mentioned earlier that I had heard this rhetoric before. I had heard it from Dr. Umar on the Daily Wrap-Up Cruise podcast. Remember this?
What I also tell black women, if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent, you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it tolerated? It's not tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, though, because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back, I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection.
It's not the same words, but the principle of what he's saying is the same. And it's just as controversial and wrong today as it was back then. Men are not a monolith, no more than women are a monolith. And that blows up Dr. Umar's whole argument right there. The truth is that women who complain about men don't have a selection problem. They have a picking problem. Which sounds like the same thing, but here's the difference. If women pick trash while ignoring the men who would be suitable husbands for them, then they can't blame it on a poor selection. Nor should the men who've done the work to make themselves responsible, productive members of society be lumped in with everyone else. We all have to answer for how we show up in the world. And certainly we can encourage other men to be better and do better. But ultimately, they have to answer for themselves. It's not good, nor proper, or even reasonable to expect the good men to answer for the bad men. I would also argue that the majority of regular, everyday men already get rejected by women when they make the approach to ask for their acquaintance or even their contact information. And do you know what those men do? They just keep it moving. But you don't hear about any of those rejections. And why would you? It's because they're uneventful. You won't hear women on social media post about a random man who wasn't her type that approached her, so she kindly rejected him. End of story. You're only going to hear about anecdotal examples of rejections that turn abusive, either verbally or physically. My point is that those are the outliers, not representative of the majority of men who just want dates. At the end of the day, words have meanings. To villainize the whole of men as a danger to women for the actions of a few is not helpful. And I reject the premise that you don't have time to figure out what white people are racist, so they must all be viewed as one and the same. In reality, we should be approaching interactions with all persons with caution, whether they be white, black, or other. You treat them how they treat you until shown otherwise. Now this guy, he's on a tear as of late. And as long as he continues to pander to women, handing out ear candy, as long as he turns a blind eye to their BS and not hold them accountable, they'll help propel his platforms into the stratosphere. But the minute he says something they don't like, back to life, back to reality. Now that we got some understanding, I'm about to get up through here on y'all. If you got value from this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and watch one of these videos next.